In the long, storied history of Britain's royal family, scandals have come and gone, but few could have prepared the nation for this. Imagine the gilded halls of Buckingham Palace, a symbol of tradition and dignity for centuries, suddenly echoing with whispers of betrayal. And at the center of it all, Queen Camilla. Yes, the very woman who stood beside King Charles during his most trying moments is now facing allegations so shocking, they've left both the royal household and the public reeling. Reports claim young Prince George, just a child, stumbled upon something no one ever expected, an act that could change how history remembers her. What was it that he saw? And why has this set off one of the most explosive royal crises in decades? Today, we take you inside the story the palace never wanted you to hear. The missing jewels that sparked a royal alarm. On June 18, 2025, Catherine, Princess of Wales, stepped into the heirloom wing of Kensington Palace for what should have been a routine audit. But within minutes, a chill settled over her. Two of Princess Diana's most cherished treasures, the 1981 Spencer Pearl choker and the 1986 Qatar pearl earrings, were gone. These were no ordinary jewels. Locked behind fingerprint-coded security, cataloged in 2019, and reserved for Princess Charlotte's 18th birthday in 2043 under Queen Elizabeth II's personal orders, they were symbols of both family history and future legacy. Yet there was no sign-out record, no surveillance breach, no trace in staff logs. They had simply vanished, without even a beep from the palace's digital security. Catherine called Prince William immediately. Within the hour, he activated the 2022 Royal Audit Protocol. Staff were sworn to secrecy, and every vault from Windsor to Sandringham was sealed. Access logs going back to April were pulled for forensic review. William didn't believe this was a clerical error. This was an inside job, a violation of Diana's memory. "This is about legacy," he told his team. "Charlotte's legacy." As suspicions spread through the palace, a pattern began to emerge, and all signs pointed to someone with no blood right to those heirlooms. A silent heist. The choker had last been inspected in March 2023, the earrings cleaned just weeks before the theft. Vault entry required dual authentication, fingerprint scans, and time-stamped logs. Yet this time, there were none. One detail troubled Catherine deeply. On April 9, 2025, Queen Camilla had visited the heirloom wing alone, requesting access for a potential museum project that was never documented. No staff accompanied her. At the time, it seemed harmless, until now. By June 20th, investigators confirmed she was the only unchaperoned visitor in the secured area over the prior 90 days. Whoever took the jewels knew the system, how to silence alarms, override locks, and walk away with pieces of a future queen's inheritance. The question that changed everything. 2 days later, at a Buckingham Palace luncheon honoring Diana's humanitarian legacy, 12-year-old Prince George innocently asked, "Mommy, why is Aunt Laura wearing Grandma Diana's earrings?" Across the room, Laura Lopes, Camilla's daughter, stood in conversation, wearing the unmistakable three-tiered pearl drops from the 1986 Qatar visit. Catherine approached, keeping her voice steady. "Laura, what earrings are those?" "They're a gift from Mother," Laura replied. Within minutes, William arrived, and the palace gemologist was summoned. The verdict was undeniable. Identical serial engravings, the same microscopic flaw on the lower pearl, confirmed by 1986 archives. A stunned silence fell over the guests. Camilla turned pale, trembling in her chair. These weren't replicas. They were Diana's originals, stolen from the vault, gifted outside the bloodline, and worn in public. Caught red-handed. Laura tried to claim they came from a private auction years ago, but no receipts or certificates existed. The palace archivist confirmed no royal jewels had been legally released since Queen Elizabeth II's 2021 will update, designating Diana's heirlooms solely to the Wales bloodline. Audit logs sealed the case. On April 9, 2025, Camilla entered the heirloom wing alone, without approval or documentation, the very day the choker and earrings disappeared. That evening, in Kensington's private chambers, William met with his legal advisors. One suggested quietly returning the jewels. William refused. "This doesn't disappear behind drapes," he said. "This is about my mother, my daughter, and the line." Catherine agreed. Camilla had crossed a line, taking Diana's legacy, passing it outside the family, and lying when confronted. This would not be buried in silence. The press finds out. Whispers escaped the palace within days. But instead of rallying around the throne, the public rallied behind Diana's name. What began as a private alarm was now a brewing storm, one that would shake the royal household in full view of the world. The press finds out. On the morning of June 23, 2025, the Times stunned the nation with a headline that cut through centuries of royal decorum. Royal scandal, missing Diana jewels tied to Queen's inner circle. The article cited palace insiders, confirming that Princess Diana's 1981 Spencer pearl choker and 1986 Qatar pearl earrings had vanished from the Kensington vault, only to be seen weeks later on Camilla's daughter, Laura Lopes, during a private palace luncheon. Within hours, the story ricocheted across the Commonwealth. From Sydney to Toronto, Cape Town to Edinburgh, the outrage was instant. Social media erupted under hashtags like #OneJustice for Diana, #Protect Charlotte, and Camilla Gate. TikTok flooded with split-screen videos comparing Diana in her pearls to Laura at the luncheon. One viral post, viewed nearly 3 million times in half a day, declared, "She didn't just take jewels, she took from Diana's granddaughter." The reaction was seismic. Comments demanded Camilla be stripped of her title and removed from public duties. British tabloids abandoned caution. The Mirror dubbed it an heirloom heist, while the Daily Mail splashed a 3-page spread titled, "From Diana to Charlotte, Interrupted." BBC Newsnight openly questioned the monarchy's moral authority. Even Le Monde, the New York Times, and Der Spiegel covered the scandal, each emphasizing the symbolic wound to Diana's legacy. Inside palace walls, the crisis shifted from internal to existential. Public trust, the monarchy's lifeblood, was on the line. William's approval rating surged to 87%, while Camilla's sank to a record low of 21%. King Charles retreated into Clarence House, declining audiences, his silence deepening speculation. The public wasn't waiting for platitudes. They wanted justice. William knew damage control would fail. Action was now unavoidable. Camilla is quietly removed from power. On June 24, 2025, behind the gates of Kensington Palace, William made his move. Without press fanfare, he signed an internal directive stripping Camilla of all access to royal heirloom vaults, ceremonial wardrobes, and strategic councils. By late morning, her security clearance was downgraded, her name removed from Wales family correspondence and any matters touching Diana's legacy. That afternoon, when Camilla tried to enter the Heritage Wing for a separate engagement, her keycard failed. Staff avoided her gaze. Her escort was reassigned. Aides-de-camp were told under William's order that Camilla was no longer to attend any events linked to Queen Elizabeth II. From that moment, a wall, emotional, institutional, unbreachable, stood between her and the heart of the monarchy. "This isn't punishment," William reportedly told an aide. "It's preservation." No press release followed, but the silence itself spoke volumes. By evening, Camilla had withdrawn to her private Ray Mill house in Wiltshire. She still held her title, but not her influence. For royal historians, it was the most sweeping internal exclusion since Wallace Simpson, the deeper betrayal. The pearl choker and Qatar earrings were more than adornments. They were milestones in Diana's life, symbols of her evolution from royal bride to global humanitarian. The 1981 choker graced her during her first official Australian tour. The 1986 earrings, a diplomatic gift, reflected grace under intense public scrutiny. In 2021, months before her passing, Queen Elizabeth II signed a private memorandum stating that all personal jewelry of the late Princess of Wales shall pass directly through the Wales line only. The 2022 Royal Charter revision, overseen by William and Catherine, reinforced that law. There was no ambiguity. Camilla had no authority to take, gift, or redistribute those items. By giving them to her own daughter, outside the royal bloodline, Camilla had crossed a constitutional and emotional boundary. One historian called it a second erasure of Diana. To William, it was unforgivable. To Catherine, deeply personal. It was never about possession, an insider said. It was about protection. Even Camilla's allies began to waver. She touched what was sacred, a former senior courtier remarked. Public sentiment turned sharply. Old supporters of Diana reawakened, flooding forums, letters pages, and royal fan clubs. For them, this wasn't palace intrigue. It was betrayal of a mother, her son, and his daughter. And as whispers hardened into sworn statements, staffers came forward, old files were reopened, and a troubling pattern emerged, stretching back over a decade of oversteps no one had dared confront. Until now, Camilla's past, long whispered about in private corridors, finally broke into the open, and it was far from flattering. With her influence at court collapsing and public trust shattered, royal investigators reopened old files. What they uncovered painted a troubling picture. Security logs revealed that in 2017, 2019, and once again in 2021, all during periods when Charles was abroad, Camilla had entered Windsor's restricted vaults without escort. Each visit was recorded under the vague label of legacy inspection. Yet there were no matching reports, curator notes, or inventory updates to explain these visits. They were silent entries hiding in plain sight. Former staff from Queen Elizabeth II's era began speaking quietly to the press. They described incidents of Camilla appearing in storage rooms without clearance, of items mysteriously disappearing and reappearing, and of her persistent interest in Princess Diana's personal collection. One dismissed curator recounted refusing to leave Camilla alone in the heirloom chamber in 2019. "You can go," Camilla had told her. "I just want to look." When the curator returned, one of Diana's sapphire rings was gone, missing for 3 weeks before turning up again. The media pounced. Once hailed as a steady, modernizing consort, Camilla was recast as a manipulator hiding behind royal formality. Headlines from The Guardian and The Telegraph abandoned any restraint. One biting title read, "The Consort's Quiet Crown: How Camilla Crossed Every Line." Her approval ratings nosedived below 26%, while Catherine soared to an unprecedented 84%, higher even than Queen Elizabeth II's during the Diamond Jubilee of 2012. The most cutting blow, however, came not from newspapers or palace courtiers, but from the public. Outside Kensington Palace, handwritten letters began to arrive by the hundreds. Many were from women who had once admired Camilla's resilience. Now, they pleaded for her resignation. One note, from a grandmother in Birmingham, was stark in its accusation. "You didn't just steal jewels, you stole a grandmother's promise to her granddaughter." Catherine secures Diana's legacy on July 1, 2025, just 13 days after the first heirlooms were reported missing. Princess Catherine entered the private wing of Kensington Palace with a singular mission: to reclaim what Camilla had tried to reshape. In the palace's high-security archive, with 2 curators, a security officer, and an archivist in attendance, Catherine placed a velvet-wrapped bundle into a newly installed biometric vault. Inside were Diana's sapphire engagement ring, her 1981 wedding bracelet, and the remaining pearl sets, now under Catherine's direct protection. Biometric access was granted only to Catherine and, in the future, to Princess Charlotte's appointed steward when she turns 18 in 2043. Even William was deliberately excluded, not as an insult, but to preserve moral neutrality. "This isn't about hierarchy," Catherine reportedly said. "It's about heritage." She slipped a handwritten note inside the vault for Charlotte. "Love, Mommy." That note, unseen by the public, became a symbol of a new royal reset. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss out on the latest updates. Stay tuned, and we'll see you in the next video.